As the U.S. and Cuba work to fix broken diplomatic ties, President Obama makes an announcement. In the next 45 days, Cuba will be removed from the U.S. list of terrorism sponsors. This has sparked controversy throughout the U.S. Over 1 million Cuban Americans live in Miami, much of whom arrived after the Cuban Revolution. Many Miami residents and Cuban Americans throughout the U.S. are upset with the news. Those who escaped the regime under Fidel Castro still harbor anger.
Obama, I think, is a sympathizer of the communist regimes of Cuba and of the enemies of the United States. I believe that Obama is betraying democracy and freedom, the things that the United States has stood for centuries.
Cuba has been on the terrorism sponsor list now for over 30 years. Other countries on the list include Syria, Sudan, and Iran. Josh Earnest, a White House spokesperson, says that although the U.S. and Cuba have differences, they are not relevant to the terror list. Obama's announcement comes within days of America's meeting in Panama, where Raul Castro spent time with Obama discussing foreign policy. Sanctions placed on Cuba by the U.S. have caused harrowing effects on the nation, especially financially. Many Cuban citizens are excited for the future.
We are not terrorists, just the opposite. We are supporters of peace and tranquility and good things for all.
In order to be taken off of the list, Cuba must prove that they have not intentionally sponsored any terrorism in the last 6 months and will not do so in the future. It's a strategy that has worked well for Iran in recent days, sitting down with global leaders. Fresh out of nuclear talks in Lausanne, Switzerland, Iranian Foreign Minister Zarif is now setting his sights on the oil-rich country of Yemen. Zarif wants an end to the Saudi-led coalition airstrikes.
We believe that aerial bombardments are simply not the answer, because there is nothing of military value in Yemen to bombard. And that is why the entire 3 weeks of aerial bombardment by Saudi Arabia has been hitting civilian infrastructure, bridges, hospitals, power plants, in not even a single military base. Not much to attack.
The Saudi-led coalition began airstrikes earlier this month, targeting the Houthi rebel forces. Iran has been accused of backing the Houthis, which they have denied. Zarif says that his country isn't looking to dominate Yemen, but there needs to be an immediate ceasefire.
Iran and Saudi Arabia need to talk. But we cannot talk to determine the future of Yemen. This is an intra-Yemeni dialogue. Yemenis have to speak to themselves. Everybody else has to facilitate.
Iranian President Hassan Rouhani says, "Let us prepare to bring Yemenis to the negotiating table to make decisions about their future. Let us accept that the future of Yemen will be in the hands of the people of Yemen, not anyone else." The U.S., a major ally of Saudi Arabia, is offering their support for the alliance. Global fears intensify that Iran may become involved in a regional proxy war, only creating tension between them and the 6 world powers. The crisis in Yemen has reached epic proportions. Over 100,000 people have fled their homes, and over 15 million more are still living in dire situations. As the fighting rages on between the Houthi rebels and Yemeni government fighters, it's the civilians who suffer the most. The United Nations Security Council met this week to approve an arms embargo on the Houthis and supporters of the former Yemeni president Ali Saleh. The terms included that the Houthis pull back their forces and stop the spread of terrorism. The deal was passed, although Russia did not vote yes. The country passed up their opportunity to vote, saying they didn't like the inclusion of sanctions. In other news, terror rings out in Somalia. Al-Shabaab militants stormed a government building, killing at least 17. Witnesses say 2 blasts went off before gunmen stormed the building. A spokesperson for Al-Shabaab confirmed that the group was responsible for the attack. Government officials say that after an hour, the building was secured. This is the second attack this month led by the militant group. A campus in Kenya also was recently stormed. Over 148 people died and many more were injured in that attack. Somalia has had an unstable government for over 20 years. Al-Shabaab had originally gained support in the area when they promised the Somali people safety and security. In 2011, the militant group rejected food and water to Somalia's famished people, losing their credibility. Now Al-Shabaab has lost most of their power. The group continues to stage vicious attacks throughout Somalia and neighboring countries. Their silence was deafening. Over 200 girls were kidnapped by the militant group Boko Haram. Now, a year later, and most of the young women are still missing. Protesters march in the memory of the young women and hope that it won't happen again. The Empire State Building in New York also honored the young women. Marking the anniversary of the attack, the building was lit up in red and purple. Nigerian President Buhari says, "We do not know if the Chibok girls can be rescued. Their whereabouts remain unknown. As much as I wish to, I cannot promise that we can find them." The missing girls sparked international outrage last year. The campaign Bring Back Our Girls sparked the interest of many celebrities who got involved, including Rihanna, Ellen DeGeneres, and First Lady Michelle Obama. The young women were kidnapped by Boko Haram in their hometown Chibok. The group will most likely convert the girls to Islam, force them into the sex trade, or marry them off. Buhari did say that although the future of the missing women is uncertain, Nigeria will not let Boko Haram get off so easy. Buhari says, "What I can pledge with absolute certainty is that starting on the first day of my administration, Boko Haram will know the strength of our collective will and commitment to rid this nation of terror and bring peace back and normalcy to all the affected areas." We all remember that iconic scene from the movie King Kong, the enormous gorilla perched atop the Empire State Building, flailing wildly at airplanes. Well, now we might just have a new look at a modern-day King Kong, a much smaller version anyways. The star of a new television show in the Netherlands got a little out of hand while filming. Pushi is a 23-year-old chimp at the Royal Burger Zoo. She saw a drone flying around taking video for a new series on apes. Pushi obviously wasn't a big fan of the drone. The chimp swatted the equipment down with a stick. Unfortunately, the camera ended up being completely destroyed, but not without taking some great footage first. The zoo even put up on their Twitter page the first chimp selfie. Pushi doesn't monkey around when it comes to her close-up. Apparently, that King Kong scene was more real than we first thought. Now coming up, a look into a bioengineered heart chip. Spain proposes new restrictions on abortion laws, and the Ukraine conflict intensifies. More on that later. Right now, your local news with Mark Maxwell.